Good afternoon, hockey fans. Data here with some more news in the National Hockey League as a few trades went down earlier today. Sorry, just scrambling to get a few things together here. A lot of pages as there's a lot of trades to catch you up on. Reilly Smith to the Vegas Golden Knights. Brian Dumoulin to the New Jersey Devils. See, even in my title, I put Ryan Smith to the Rangers. Golden Knights. Oh my, Dumoulin to the Devils, Sturm to the Panthers, in a few different trades that went down in the National Hockey League this afternoon as we're getting closer and closer, less than 24 hours away from the NHL Trade Deadline tomorrow at noon, at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, let's start breaking it all down. Let's start off with the New Jersey Devils, who acquired Brian Dumoulin earlier today. Brian Dumoulin acquired from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for prospect Herman Traff, a conditional second-round pick in 2025, and that also comes at Dumoulin 50% retained. So the New Jersey Devils definitely needing some help with Jack Hughes being out for the season. This does give them a little bit more support on the blue line, but they are still definitely in need of a centerman. Yes, I'm home. Everything good to go. And yes, sorry, Smith to the Golden Knights, not to the Rangers. I fixed the title very quickly there. Yes, there you go. So yeah, Brian Dumoulin, who is he as a player? I keep forgetting that he's like 33 because he was drafted in 2009. He didn't really make his break into the NHL till 2015-16. I thought he was like 28, 29 in 2015. So that he's 33 now. I keep forgetting he's not like 40. So Brian Dumoulin, he's still a serviceable piece in the National Hockey League. He's been a workhorse, a guy who plays like 70 games plus per season. He is a two-time Stanley Cup winner as well. In Anaheim this year is his first season, 16 points in 61 games as he was traded there for a fourth-round pick originally from Seattle, and now the Ducks get an ROI, solid ROI on him. They trade a fourth to acquire him and then trade him away for a second and a prospect. So as a player, Brian Dumoulin over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data, in that 63rd percentile of projected wins above replacement. You can see his value over the last couple of years, much higher than it was in 22-23. The defense has gone down. The offense has gone down in 24-25, but also take that with the understanding that he's playing on a very bad Anaheim Ducks team right now and playing big minutes there too. He's playing almost 20 minutes per night on one of the worst teams in the league while he was playing 17 in Seattle, let's say. So he's used to the big minutes. He was playing big minutes, huge responsibilities with the Penguins, 20, 21, 22, averaging 20, 39 through his parts of 10 seasons with the Penguins. With the Ducks, he was playing big minutes again, but on a much worse team. 91 blocks, 60 hits in 61 games. And as you can see back on the card here, the even strength defense is still up there. And that's 76th percentile over the last 3 years. So he draws a lot of penalties. He plays against high levels of competition, but not with high levels of teammates. So, and as Jay Fresh puts here, the only player on the market who was a #1 defenseman on a Stanley Cup champion, albeit 8 years ago. So Dumoulin, he is a veteran defensive defenseman, capable of keeping the puck out of dangerous areas, solid first pass, and good defensive stick, but not particularly physical, as I just said, about a hit per game, nothing too crazy. On an expiring deal, he'll be 50% retained by the Ducks going to the New Jersey Devils. And if we look at the Devils situation now, that leaves them with $343,000 in cap space. So if they want to be making another move here to bring in a center in their organization, it's not going to be easy to do. Well, actually, you know what? Because they're going to LTIR Jack Hughes. Now that's with LTIR being taken into consideration already, is it not? But this should be updated, so I don't think I'm mistaken here, because Brian Dumoulin coming in does eat some of that space at 1.575. Siegenthaler also on LTIR. Yeah, so you would think that they'd have to play around with money again, especially, I guess it's because Markstrom was back off of LTIR now. The Devils are going to have to play around with some money if they want to make another acquisition. No first in 2025, but still 2 seconds, a third, a fourth, and 2 sixths. And all their picks in 26 and 27 plus 2 fourths in 2026. So the Devils can still make more moves, but the salary cap will be tighter for them. The Anaheim Ducks, meanwhile, have $73.4 million in cap space. This is unprecedented, unheard of for the Anaheim Ducks to have this available to them right now. So they weaponize that a little bit by, they get a bit more value on Dumoulin by retaining 50% of his contract. They add a draft pick as well by now getting a second. What was the trade? It was a conditional second in 2025. Let me go back here. I have a lot of tabs open there. So it's a third that could become a second. Is that it? Or what is it? I'm not sure what the condition on that trade is. Let's find out. So Dumoulin condition. Let's find that out here as I was busy opening a lot of tabs there just a minute ago. Let's see here. Better of Edmonton or Winnipeg's 2025 second. I see. So between the Jets and the Oilers, whichever second round pick is higher, that will go to the Ducks in 2025, as well as Herman Traff. Who is Herman Traff, you ask? Well, here he is. He was a third round pick of the Devils in the most recent 2024 draft. Not a bad prospect. He's still 19. He still has a lot to turn into. He's definitely a big question mark. So the Devils, who just drafted him in the third round, flip him to the Anaheim Ducks, who I'm sure don't mind having another right winger in their system. I know they drafted Massey in the third round last year in the 2024 draft, but these draft pick rights were traded with a second for Toffoli. Now they're traded with a second for Dumoulin. Interesting how a year makes a big difference in the trade market, but there you go. Yeah, it's a lot of tabs. Don't worry, I'm organizing it. So Herman Traff, 7 points in 25 games in the SHL with Huve Sietiot. HV71, playing with the junior team, 4 points in 2 games. All right. So there you go. He's a 19-year-old. He still has a lot to show. Who knows what he's going to turn into? And the Ducks get that plus a second round pick. No matter whose second it is a second round pick. So there you go. That's a great move for Anaheim. Not bad at all. Do they still have humans to play on their blue line? I think they do. If you look at their depth chart here. Yeah, Lacombe, Gudis, Minchikov, Trouba, Zellweger, and Hellison. So they can still survive. And meanwhile, the New Jersey Devils, if you look at their blue line, and the depth chart that they now have. We'll try to fly through all these trades ASAP. Luke Hughes, Brett Pesce, Dylan, Nemec, Dumoulin, Kovacevic. That works for me. Dougie Hamilton has been injured. Seamus Casey has been playing a little bit as well. So, yeah, it just gives more options to the New Jersey Devils, who will have to be stronger defensively. And the big question is now, can they keep Dawson Mercer as their second line center, or can they bump Palat or Tatar down to the third line, Mercer to the wing, and bring in a more reliable second line center option? Howell on the third, Lazar on the fourth, that's fine. But Dawson Mercer as a second line center, I think they'd like to improve on that if able to do so. Maybe this feels a little expensive for the Devils. No? Good point by Hobbs. Now we've evaluated the trade and who the players are here. Now, what about the value? It's definitely a seller's market. A second is already one thing. I know that Traff isn't the biggest prospect in the world, but a prospect and a second, albeit it's going to be a late second round pick. I suppose that's why. It's a bit of a heavy cost for the Devils, I think, for an expiring contract. I know they're in a tighter cap situation, so I guess the Ducks use that to their advantage. They had all the leverage. The Devils are the ones who need to have the Ducks retain salary, and it's going to be a late second round pick. So the Ducks say, hey, it's going to be a late second. We're keeping money. We want a bit more value. The Devils give up one of their lower, not mid prospects, I suppose, middle range prospects, and a second round pick to get a bit of help on their depth defensively. It's definitely a bit of a higher price than you would think, but there you go. Brian Dumoulin to the New Jersey Devils, likely been playing in a much smaller role than he was playing in Anaheim. You'd think he's going to be moving into that 16, 17 minute per night type of role. 2-time Stanley Cup winner. He played those huge 22.5 minutes in Pittsburgh. He can shoulder a lot of load if need be for the New Jersey Devils. So veteran defenseman, 33-year-old Brian Dumoulin, off to the New Jersey Devils. All right, next up, we need to consider this is considered a weaker draft. True, weaker draft. It's a late second. Got to keep that in mind. Yes. All right, let's jump over to Nico Sturm now. This is going to be a quick one. Nico Sturm, acquired by the Florida Panthers, is a bottom six forward who does some forechecking and battling and has above average foot speed, and also arguably a top 5 faceoff guy in the NHL. Plus, he has a beautiful autograph. If you could just indulge me for a moment. Nico Sturm, I've seen his hockey cards. He has a beautiful signature. If I go like over here, let me look at this right here. Beautiful autograph. Really nice. Just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so Nico Sturm going to the Florida Panthers. The trade officially was Nico Sturm and a 7th going to Florida in exchange for a 4th. So the the Sharks upgrade a 7th pick and turn it into a 4th round pick. And in exchange for doing so, they give up Nico Sturm, who's a really solid faceoff guy. If you look at his faceoff percentage, he's at 62.7%. If you look even with San Jose last year, 60.1%. In his career is at 56.8, but that's because of some lower times. It's still 56.8 is great. But the last couple of years, he has been above 60% on the dot. Come on. That auto says Hobbsy is why it was a 4th and not a 5th. Exactly. So I love that for the Florida Panthers. This is the type of move that you make, again, as a Stanley Cup competing team. To only give up a 4th and even take back a 7th for a guy who can play on your 4th line and be solid at faceoffs, that faceoff can determine a goal sometimes. That goal can determine a series, and that series can determine the Stanley Cup. You never know. So Nosek in there, who could be swapping with Nico Sturm, Gadjevich, Greer, all that. This 4th line can be fluid for the Panthers. Meanwhile, this top 9 is a bit more set in stone. But even then, the Panthers looking to add to it. I'd be shocked in terms of the value, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made some sort of huge splash where Smoskowicz and or Luosterainen and or Lundell or whatever else it might be get moved in a deal to the Hurricanes for Mikko Rantanen. But just putting it out there, I think the Panthers could definitely see an improvement on their wings of Evan Rodriguez and Jesper Vokvist. As good as they've been, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of an improvement there, but they do improve their center depth with Nico Sturm coming in. Going back to who he is as a player, welcome aboard, Noah. What did you miss so far? Just Brian Dumoulin to the New Jersey Devils for a second and a prospect. Now we're on Nico Sturm being traded to the Florida Panthers from the San Jose Sharks. Over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data, in that 33rd percentile, was above the 50th, dropped down to like the 10th, and now he's back up above the 50th again. So it was a tough first year in San Jose. He played 60 games we just saw? He played 63 games. Yeah. So it's parts of his third season now in San Jose after he spent a lot of time in Minnesota previously. There you go. So 39th percentile in even strength offense, 26th in defense. Nothing crazy really anywhere on this chart. But again, what we're looking at is foot speed. We're looking at face-off percentage. We're looking at forechecking, battling. His finishing's gone up a little bit. His offense and defense has both risen over the last year, and his overall value has rebounded in a big way. So I wouldn't be too concerned about these numbers, more concerned about the 24-25 numbers for offense, defense, finishing, and wins above replacement percentile. That's what I would say for Nico Sturm. So if I'm a Panthers fan, I'm getting more and more excited about how the Panthers continue to go all in, and Bill Zito is making the moves to give his team the best chance possible of going back to back. And I'd have to think that the Florida Panthers right now, if they weren't already, they're definitely a top 3 cup favorite. Can you say that they're the cup favorite? Maybe not yet, but definitely in that top 3, I'd say right now. So Nico Sturm off to the Florida Panthers in that trade. He scored 13 points in 47 games with the Sharks so far this year. Same amount of points that he scored at San Jose the year previously, but doing so in 16 less games? That's nice, as he's even playing 4.5 less minutes per game, but he has scored the same amount of points, better plus minus by 21, and 15 less games played. I love that. Nico Sturm, this is a sneaky good pickup for the Florida Panthers. Sneaky good pickup. I like that a lot for Nico Sturm, the German Stanley Cup winner as well, the Colorado Avalanche, as they picked him up at the deadline. He was a deadline acquisition for the Avalanche, who traded Tyson Jost for him. And now he's going to be an acquisition for the Panthers, who are going to try to win a Stanley Cup themselves. So the San Jose Sharks have a ton of cap space as well, just keeping that in mind. 2 firsts, a second, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, no sixth, and a seventh in 2025, as they now have that additional fourth from the Panthers in 2026, and they give up their seventh in 2027. There is their current draft pick situation. Is it related to Marco Sturm? I always wonder that. I'm not entirely certain on that. May very well be. I don't know if it's how common of a name it is in Germany. The Sharks are doing a great job of finding players nobody wants and getting a huge return from them. That's it. Again, is it a huge return? No. But still, turning a seventh into a fourth for free? Why not? You know what? I think the Sharks may have been able to even get a little bit more out of this. I think Nico Sturm provides not a lot of value, but I think he does what he does very well, is what I'm trying to say. So the Panthers, with Nico Sturm now acquired, still have $4.1 million in cap space thanks to the LTIR pool of Matthew Tkachuk. They have no first, second, or third in 2025. They moved a fourth in 2026. They still have one left. So there you go. They're pretty much in the same position as before. They could still move a fourth. They could still move a 2026 second, and they could still move any of their 2027 picks. So they are definitely not done yet. I could see a 2027 first. I don't know if the Hurricanes really want that, but I could see Lundell and picks. I don't know. I think it would be crazy to move Lundell unless Rantanen's coming back, but you have to know that he's going to be extending if that's what you're going to be doing. So Nico Sturm at $2 million, expiring UFA. Welcome to Florida. All right. On to the next one. Now we see the Vegas Golden Knights reacquiring Reilly Smith from the New York Rangers in exchange. Sorry, everyone. In exchange for Brendan Brisson and a 2025 third-round pick. So, funnily enough, just want to mention this first. Brendan Brisson is now the 6th of 8 draft picks. Sorry, the 6th to be moved of 8 first-round picks that the Vegas Golden Knights have made in their franchise's history. The Vegas Golden Knights have made 8 first-round selections in franchise history from 2017 to 2024, and 6 of them have now been traded away. Think about that. And what have they been traded away for? Suzuki was in the Pacioretty trade. That wasn't great. Brandstrom didn't really work out. Cody Glass didn't really work out. Peyton Krebs hasn't worked out. Brisson has been okay. Zach Dean, they moved him in the St. Louis trade. That was with Barbashev, so that worked out at least for them. And then you have Edstrom and Connolly still sitting there. But yeah, just to note, I find that really like franchise mode-esque. So Brendan Brisson, who is 23 years of age, former 29th overall pick of the Golden Knights in 2020. He's played 24 NHL games with 8 points. He scored 19 and 45 down in the AHL this season, just 5 goals in 45 games after he scored 19 and 52 the year prior. So I think the Vegas Golden Knights did well to kind of cut bait on Brendan Brisson. Again, it wasn't the greatest draft selection, but that's your bed. You got to live in it, lie in it, especially that Maverick Bourque went next. Ouch. So Brendan Brisson goes to the New York Rangers. Not a lot of value there. It's more the 3rd round pick, I would say. So Reilly Smith, who is he as a player? Let's check it out. Reilly Smith, acquired by Vegas, is a middle 6 two-way winger who creates chances at a decent clip and kills penalties. Finishing the opportunities he gets has been inconsistent, but he did score a cup-winning goal for the Knights 2 years ago. No relation. Gotcha. Nico's least favorite question in an interview. Now I know. I'll never ask him. Thank you. So Reilly Smith, although I haven't really been impressed with him this season on my fantasy team, I traded him away. If you look at his value that he provides outside of fantasy hockey, he does provide value. 56th percentile in projected wins above replacement over the last 3 seasons, 71st of even strength offense, 72nd of even strength defense, 45th of goals, 80th of primary assists, 79th on the penalty kill, finishing in the 43rd, drawing penalties in the 28th, and he's playing against high levels of competition without having high levels of teammates over there in New York. Makes sense. So his overall value has rebounded this past season from like 70th down to 25th up to like maybe 60th percentile of wins above replacement. The defense has stayed steady enough. The offense has gone up quite well, and the finishing has even taken an upturn too. And in case Knights fans forget who this guy is, let's check it out. Just this season, according to the microstats card for Reilly Smith in New York, 80th percentile of even strength offense, 69th of defense, 80th of penalty killing. So that's really great. When you look at, as well as all the blue out here, 93rd percentile of chances, 85th in shots, everything between 62 and 78 here for chance contributions, shot contributions, in-zone offense, rush offense, forecheck involvement. Now, that being said, where does he not excel as much? Skating speed, high danger passes, zone exits, goals, zone entries. So don't make him the guy who has to leave the zone or enter the zone with the puck. Allow him to be the guy who's shooting it off the rush or who's creating contributions, whether it be through chances of assists or passes, shot contributions, whatever it is. Allow him to be that guy and just kill his penalties and all of that. And that's the Reilly Smith that the Vegas Golden Knights will be happy to have back. Stanley Cup champion in 2023. They got him from the Panthers in the expansion draft. They loved having him for sure. Oh, no, they didn't. He was traded to Vegas for a 4th round pick so that they wouldn't take Marcia. So that was what it was. So kind of like in the expansion draft. Anyways, going to some of the comments here. I'm seeing some of your comments. I'll just pull these up quickly. Noah saying, does this help Vegas with the narrative that they're not loyal to their players now that they brought an OG back? Yeah, I guess you could say that. At least in that sense. They let him walk in the first place, right? Or they traded him away in the first place to Pittsburgh for a 3rd. And now they give up a 3rd and Brisson to bring him back 2.5 years later. Or a year and a half later. Whatever else you might want to... Yeah, a year and a half later. Lacton saying, considering Smith played mostly with Zibanejad and Kreider, he was very solid, especially on the penalty kill, which was a surprise to me. I thought he was more of a pure sniper rather than being a player on the penalty kill. Yeah, me too. I think he's kind of... I don't know if I'm just not aware of that part of his game the last couple of years, but at least this year I realized it a lot more, I guess I could say. 29 points in 58 games, just 10 goals, which is why he was killing me in fantasy hockey. But as a player, as we just saw, his value is still very much there for the Vegas Golden Knights to acquire. What was he going to do with the Rangers? Not much. It makes a lot of sense for the Rangers to dump him. They still have over $16.5 million of cap space now. They acquire a 3rd round pick there, which is nice. It was in 2025. Sorry, where were we? 2025 3rd, which was from San Jose or Seattle. Let me see. Probably from San Jose. That came in the which trade? That came from the Tomas Hertl trade. I see. Gotcha. So the 3rd that they got from the Tomas Hertl trade, one of the pieces, they now flip with Brisson to the Rangers to bring back Reilly Smith. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights still have just under $500K in cap space. If they want to think about anything else, we look at their depth chart too. I'm just looking at the comments here as well. I think there's a solid one for the Rangers. Yeah, solid enough return. San Jose 3rd rounder is a 2nd late rounder, basically. Yeah, keep that in mind too. The San Jose 3rd round pick. Even better for them, yes. Brisson's more of a toss-in my mind. I don't think there's much to be expected of him in his future that much in the National Hockey League. So Reilly Smith slots right into that third line. Lovely for the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't know if I believe. I don't know if I have as much trust in Tanner Pearson as a long-term first-line left winger. I think Barbashev and Eichel should be reunited up there. Saad, Hurdle, Dorofeyev, Pearson, Howden, Smith type of third line. Olofsson could play. He's played with Eichel a little bit this season as well. Anyways, I like this. I like Vegas. Vegas's top 9 more today than I did before, as they're still dealing with, of course, the Shea Theodore injury and all that. William Karlsson still out on LTIR. Yeah. So I like where Smith can slot into the lineup. I like how he can play the penalty kill for them. I like the value that he brings. Even though he's a couple of years older now, he's still a known quantity for Vegas. A guy who played the majority of his career with Vegas, parts of 6 seasons, 399 games played as a Golden Knight. He'll play his 400th now coming up. And yeah, his role has diminished a little bit down to 15.5 minutes per night, where he was once like an 18+ minute guy. He was getting Selke votes. That's true. He's getting Selke votes in Vegas. So that's always been a part of his game. Maybe just not as profound when he was close to a 30-goal scorer at the same time. But there you go. Reilly Smith to Vegas. Brendan Brisson going to the New York Rangers. Can they find some use of him? I suppose we'll find out. He hasn't done much in his career so far. 24 games played, 8 points, -8. That's it. That's it. That's all pretty much. And there you go. Reilly Smith. Going back to the comments here too. Do you think that Pittsburgh will trade Sutter tomorrow? Do you mean Shen? If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm definitely trying to do that. That's for sure. So now a couple other points. Ryan Reeves on waivers. That's one thing. Another contract that I called the day that it was signed. Ryan Reeves and Wayne Simmons. The day that those contracts were signed, I said they will be on waivers. And now here I am. I told you so to myself in the past. Just at least I can say that I knew it. I called it. Should have put my house on it. Ryan Reeves on waivers. Verana gets claimed off waivers by the Predators, who's been having a solid enough 24-25 campaign. His finishing's been through the roof. I suppose that's it. I'm surprised that the Capitals put him on waivers, but I guess they needed more roster space. I don't know what. Jordan Osterley also picked up by the Predators, and then even Christian Fischer picked up by the Blue Jackets off waivers. A few more things to note there. All right. Last trade we want to look at here, unless anything else popped up in the last few minutes in the Twitter world. I don't think so. Great. So last trade to look at, a little goalie swap just to make note of. Chris Driedger and Kaapo Kähkönen, they're swapping places. So the Panthers picked up Vitek Vanacek. I didn't have a chance to go live for that one. The Panthers picked up Vitek Vanacek yesterday. So now Kaapo Kähkönen will slot in as third goalie instead of Chris Driedger being there. I don't see why Winnipeg really want to do this. Maybe they just want to give Kaapo Kähkönen a chance to live. He wasn't happy in Manitoba, nor was he doing anything great with the Manitoba Moose, going 6-14, 3.29 goals against. I don't know. So Kähkönen, he's a 28-year-old goalie. The deadline he's been moved around a bunch in the last few years. Moved around a bunch from the Wild to the Sharks in March of 2022. Then last year's deadline, he was moved, from San Jose to New Jersey for Vanacek. And now he was traded for Vanacek. Now he'll be behind Vanacek in Florida. Since then, he was traded from San Jose to New Jersey, then signed by Winnipeg, then waivers from the Avalanche, then waivers back and forth, Winnipeg Jets, Colorado Avalanche, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Then Jets traded to Florida. He's been moving all over the place between the Wild, the Sharks, the Devils, the Jets, the Avalanche, and the Panthers, even the AHL squads too. Kaapo Kähkönen has been moving around. So he has to be third goalie in Florida. I suppose, I don't know if they're going to keep him on their roster or try to send him down or what. Chris Driedger has been playing in the AHL for a little bit as well. He was in his second stint with the Panthers. He's a couple of years older, but his AHL numbers were better. So yeah, the Panthers get the younger goalie who's not as great in the AHL results, but he's a couple of years younger. And why not? And what's the contract here? He's making $1 million as an expiring UFA. And Driedger, $795, also an expiring UFA. So not the craziest blockbuster trade in the world, but a little goalie swap there between backup goalie, depth goalie type things. As the Jets, maybe they'll use Driedger in the NHL, while Kähkönen wouldn't be used as much in the NHL for the Panthers. I could see it. Will Winnipeg trade for a second-line center? It's all going to be dominoes, my friends. It's all going to be dominoes. As soon as there's a decision on Mikko Rantanen and or Brock Nelson especially, that's where the dominoes start to fall. You have the Jets. You have the Islanders maybe extending. You have the Devils. You have... were those like the three main teams we're talking for Brock Nelson right now? Could that be it? Anyways, that's going to set the center market. Once that team, let's say the Jets miss out on Brock Nelson, then they pivot and they look at a Ryan Donato perhaps. So there's a lot to think about for dominoes that will be falling, especially when Mikko Rantanen is that biggest one. Official prediction from Hobbsy, does Rantanen get moved again? I say no. My official prediction is no. If I'm Carolina, I just try my best to win a Stanley Cup with Rantanen today, make him want to fall in love with the city, whatever else it is. If not, I trade him like I traded Jake Gensel, and I try to recoup a third-round pick. Is it going to hurt? Yes. But unless I'm flipping Rantanen for big picks and prospects, so I can then flip to a different team for another blockbuster, I need to stay as strong as possible if I'm going to be trying to win a Stanley Cup, right? Tell me about it. Vrana's career, such a shame. Such a good player as well. I always liked him too. Great starts when being moved, but then failed very quickly. Always accepted invitation in the World Championship. Shame he can't chase a second Stanley Cup right now with Washington, as he'll now be going to Nashville. Yes. So that updates us on the news and notes. Smith, Dumoulin, Sturm, another little goalie swap as well being done earlier today. And then before that, I hadn't gone live for Vinny Desharnais. I went live not long after, so I talked about Vinny Desharnais. I didn't go live for Vitek Vanacek, but I've gone live for most of these. So I'm trying my best in between being out of the house and everything, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when we go live, and join us in the Discord server. That's where the news will be breaking first. And of course, we'll be live tomorrow starting around noon, probably noon, 12 or 12:30 p.m. Eastern, for coverage all the way till the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline tomorrow. So we are just about 22 hours and 45 minutes away or so from the trade deadline. I hope to see you tomorrow for live coverage. We'll have some live guests coming in. We'll be live for maybe 3.5 hours. It'll be a fun time as we break down the trades that happen, the winners and losers of the day of the deadline. And teams like the Maple Leafs got to make a move. You got to see, what will they do as the clock continues to tick closer to that deadline. Donato's having a good season. Ryan Donato's been doing well. I got to give it to him there. Yeah, he looked very good against Ottawa yesterday, especially. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Remember to leave your comments and your thoughts down here on YouTube for what you think about these trades, and join us in the Discord server where we're talking much more. I'm sure we'll be live again sometime later today and definitely tomorrow, so I look forward to seeing you there.